Now presenting Mr. Mike Coyne, Governor's Hurricane Conference board member representing the National Weather Service.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our next award is the Tropical Meteorology Award. It's presented to an individual or organization that has made outstanding or substantial contributions to the advancement and knowledge, application, or understanding of the hurricane forecasting and warning process in the state of Florida. Since 2004, Mr. Mike Boylan has been educating people about trends, model runs, and everything else tropical weather related through his website. He does not forecast, but his dedication and contributions to the citizens of Florida and providing tropical weather information in layman's terms, helping to explain what the forecast trends mean and how to follow all the extensive maps, charts, and graphs located on his website, Mike's weather page, aka spaghettymodels.com. The 2021 Tropical Meteorology Award goes to Mike Boylan of Mike's weather page.
Just click on Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nation. Well, there'll always be some haters. They don't understand. Mike's got a friend and 100,000 more across the land. Well, if you want to know it first and you want to know it right and you want to have time to plan, Drunk Donkey Nation tells your friend, Mike, he's your man. And he's gonna tell you all about the wind and the rain. He's gonna tell you if it's gonna be a storm or if it's gonna be a hurricane. Don't you worry about the news others try to hide. Click on Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nationwide. Yeah, here on Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nationwide.
Alrighty, folks, what is up? Hello, welcome. 8 p.m. edition of the Daily Brew will likely be our last evening edition of the Daily Brew, as the storm will be here before you know it. No doubt about that. So I hope everybody's doing good. I hope everybody's prepared. You know, we are getting closer and closer to clarity. You know, every day, every hour that goes by, it's getting more confident. The cone is getting tighter and tighter and tighter, which is good. Hopefully, you know, no last second surprises. But we're seeing the storm definitely organized tonight. That was the big fear several days ago, was that this thing was going to turn, you know, below 9. I can't get my Facebook chats. Let me refresh real quick. The fear for me that we're going to see something strong was going to be in the 990 range about now, and we are. That's kind of what the models were hinting at. 991 was the latest update. 8 p.m. update, 991 pressure, 60 miles an hour. I mean, it's almost a hurricane with those pressures. So we're going to talk about that. So it's the real deal, folks. Okay, it's the big system. Top 10 size. Okay, huge width. That's why everybody's phones went off today at 5 p.m. Eastern. Both sides of the state. This is where we don't focus on that center line, because we're going to have effects way, way east and way, way north. Okay. Number one question I'm getting are these little nudges, and I try to be really clear. Nudges happen. Every storm, you get these little nudges. This storm has done phenomenal with tracking. We haven't seen that uncertainty that we sometimes see, which is what you want to see. I'm very confident that this thing is going to kind of go in that direction. Never turn your back on a Gulf system especially on the east side. You know, I got room reservations for the girls and my mom and dad. I am not canceling them until I see this thing locked in on that track. So we never turn our back. We just, confidence is high, higher than what I normally see for a track, okay? We're going to get wiggles and wobbles. That's part of it. But don't let the emotions of every 6 hours affect you and dissect that little line. And there's so many people dissect it. Oh, it went west. No, it went east. The storm isn't that little skinny line. The storm is a huge 400-mile wide system. Tropical storm force winds are going to reach 200, 250 miles from the center. It's going to go through the whole state of Florida. Okay? So little wiggles and wobbles, you're just wasting your time and driving yourself crazy if you're worried about wiggles and wobbles. We're worried about big wiggles and wobbles, yeah, but not little tiny shifts. Because let me tell you, this thing, when it gets organized, this is what the eye is going to do. It's going to bounce. It's going to do this all the way to landfall. Boop, 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 boop. And we're going to see 1 million people dissect every wiggle. Oh, it's going northwest. Oh, wait a minute, it's going northeast. That's what they do. So it's the overall steering patterns that are locked in. Now, if that high pressure starts building a little bit more over Florida, maybe, it'll shove it. We got a high pressure over the Gulf. If that gets a little stronger, so weather patterns will change. They just won't snap of the finger change. But I got 2 things I want to show you before we get into reality. I'm not going to read comments tonight. This is our Dirty 30. Okay, we don't talk about anything other than the weather. Okay, so thank you all for being here. I think we had 40, 50, 60,000 last night across all social watching Kevin Guthrie. So thank you to the state of Florida for trusting me, Mike's Weather Page. It means a lot when the state of Florida calls us and we have a one-on-one. So thanks for the state for doing that. I appreciate that. All right. For some reason, I got a little circle there. All right, 2 things I want to show you. This is how Brian McNulty puts these radars together. This is Hurricane Idalia, okay? What I want you to look at, it's likely a weaker storm this is probably going to be a little weaker maybe, but if it's not, the point of this is this. Focus on everywhere else but the center, okay? So much focus, people think, oh my God, it's not going to hit us. We're okay. Watch these bands. Okay, these bands. This is not as big a storm. This storm we're seeing now is a lot bigger than Idalia, but this gives you the idea. These bands are going to rotate in through the state. We're going to have multiple tornado warnings. I already put the Storm Prediction Center map up. We're going to have tornado warnings up through Georgia, up through South Carolina, and it's going to continue because our system's so wide. So we don't focus on that center line because we're going to have effects way, way, way east. And I number one comment I hear, oh, it shifted east. We're good. Well, overall, there's a lot of folks. That's why we have school closures and we have watches and warnings and phones going off. Okay, so that hopefully puts it in perspective of what we could look at. As the system passes, we're going to have rotating feeder bands still coming in on Friday down into Florida. Okay, surge is going to remain. I'll talk about that, but that hopefully gives you a picture. Now, the other thing I had pulled up, this is Hurricane Ian 2022. These are spaghetti models. 4 days before landfall, but the point of this is there was a lot more uncertainty with Ian. Okay, we had that GFS model that was pointing to the Panhandle. We had the Euro suites going down towards Fort Myers area, obviously South Florida area. This system, there was a lot of uncertainty. So the reason I wanted to show you this is we had that one school of camp that was thinking turn, but notice we had a cold front. This cold front is not in play like it was in Ian. We got a high pressure building back in over here that's going to pull our system and actually turn it west. So Ian turned last second, but we also had spaghetti models that supported that turn. And me, I live and die by spaghetti models, and I live and die by the computer models and the models that I trust. And right now, we're not seeing that. So yeah, it could happen, but you can see why it did happen with Ian. So that was always on the table. We could see an unexpected turn. So what I'm saying is the folks up in the Panhandle, Tallahassee, northern part of that peninsula, Big Bend area, this is very likely it's coming your way. Doesn't mean the effects aren't going to be there for the Florida Peninsula. Trust me. Jim Cantori is in Pasco, Hernando. Okay? He knows this surge is going to be a huge story. probably right here in my own backyard. All right, so let's talk about this storm. What's it look like? Well, not a very good look right now. This, I didn't want to say it in print, but this to me reminds me of Michael. When we were watching Michael form in the early stages, it had a ball of convection around it. And not going to say this is going to be a Cat 5. Not going to say it's a 4. Maybe it won't even be a 3. I don't know that. Nobody knows that. But the fact is, you don't have to be. Well, I don't want to make Andrew. I don't want to make a rocket scientist mad because we're friends with one. You don't have to sleep at Holiday Inn Express to know that this looks bad. Okay, this is getting that look. We're getting white cloud tops popping here around center. You can see the bands coming in. There's a real general rotation. We had wind shear from the other system in the Pacific. Now that's gone. It's entering a very warm region of the Gulf. Everything's lining up for this thing to take off, and it's 991 pressure. That's what I said about 4 or 5 days ago, and I'm sticking to it. That is the sign of rapid intensification starting to get ready to take off. So I have a weird feeling we're going to wake up in the morning and it's going to look a lot more like a hurricane. It just looks like it's going to surprise us. Here's what the last visible looked like before the sun went down. Again, you can see rotation on all 4 quadrants starting to get going. So it's got, I mean, that's what kind of is predicted. Very, very cold cloud tops bubbling here around that center. So, and it's shooting that gap. And look out. All right, couple things. Here's tropicaltidbits.com. I shared this earlier, but they didn't pin it. But they did pin it 991. That's, anybody that follows know that's getting deep. 2 links on my site. Let me go back to my site real quick. So if you're new to the site, listen, everything you could possibly need except for right here, plan and prepare. Focus on this for right now, okay? Because I have so much information that you probably don't even know is on this site, only for Helene with an E. By the way, if you want social media engagement, misspell a word on social media and you get all kinds of people correcting you. So I might just misspell it the rest of the damn storm. I put an I there one time. My God, Anyway, so we got Florida FDM official storm information. Okay, very important. If you live in Florida, click this link right here. State of Florida, tropical storm Helene updates right there. Press release, executive orders, make a plan, county emergency management information. If you want to know what's going on in your county, that's all you need right there. Boom. Every one of these counties has their own EOC page, Emergency Operations Center. You'll find out your zone. Go to bed at night, know your zone, okay? Get gas. Make sure your generator starts. Tonight, go to bed ready in case you get evacuation notices in the morning. Good site for a lot of information. All right, another good site here I just added is this one right here. Local National Weather Service impacts. Okay, watch. Click on this. Here is all your individual offices, okay? Jacksonville, Charleston, Tallahassee, Tampa Bay, Melbourne, Miami, Key West. Threats and impacts, right? Let's go to Tampa Bay, just for example. Tampa Bay, where I live. You click on this and you get an amazing map of possibilities, okay? The tip of Pinellas showing some red. Gusts 74 to 110. These are worst case scenarios. But if you want to know storm surge threat, there's your colors. You want to know flooding rain threat, there's your colors. You want to know tornado threat, there's your colors, okay? Great tool. It really stresses the fact that here's our cone, and we still have a ton of, look at the whole dang state of Florida, except for the tippy part of Panhandle, up into South Carolina, up into Georgia, is probably going to have tornado watches. Tornado watches. That's why schools are closed. That's why this is going to be nasty. Tornado watches from the Keys all the way to South Carolina. So that's on the site if you want to see it. Other stuff on my site, then we'll get into some specifics. You know, I got all the NHC discussions. It's very important to read this. I know nobody likes to read. I don't like to read, but you can learn a lot by reading this NHC discussion. They have new discussions at 5 and 11. Tells you what they're thinking, where they're going, maybe if they're under... maybe if they're under, intensity guidance, like if they're on the low end, maybe. So you kind of get a sense of where their head is and where the next update might be. That they might say, well, we kept the intensity here, but these models are showing, so you can read a lot on that. Here's, of course, spaghetti models. This is a good one. Wind, wave, and gust map. You click on this one. It's an interactive tool from the National Weather Service, and you can actually zoom around. You can change it to wind gusts. You can go forward in time. You can start to, see maybe where you're starting to see the worst impacts for your area. It's an updated tool that, changes as the forecast changes, but it's very helpful, You can go to Georgia. It doesn't matter where you go. You can look at all kinds of stuff. So that's on the site. Real-time tide water is a new link that I just added today. Wrong link. Damn it. I did not add it today. I'm glad I fixed that. I got to fix that. I just thought I added it. I copied the hyperlink, but I didn't edit the hyperlink. All right. Spaghetti ensembles, we have that from Weather Nerds. Bird guidance is a really useful tool for looking at ensembles. We've shown this a million times, so just play around with these sites. The satellite storm products, we have key messages and hurricane. So anyway, everything you could possibly want is right there. All right. So let's get into specifics. All right, let me close these out. Here's the latest track. Shelly. I'm running on Duncan. All right, so here's a 5-day track. We got the new cone in here. We got a lot of hatched colors. It's kind of confusing. Hatched over pink means you have a guaranteed blue tropical storm warning, but the hatch indicates there's pink underneath that, which means you're still under hurricane watch. So hurricane watch means you're not quite at hurricane warning, but you could be. And that's what that is. We got hurricane, obviously, watches up through Georgia. We got red warnings up to the state line. Let me go to the 3-day. You can really zoom in a little bit better, and I'll kind of do that. It makes life a little easier to see. Boom, boom, boom. So landfall has unfortunately slowed a little bit. It might be nighttime hours now. 2 p.m. Thursday, this thing's supposed to be a major hurricane sitting off our coast here in just a day and a half. Very, very close. Remember what I was saying, that cone is where the eye could go. I don't have to stress enough. A wiggle to the east is going to make tremendous more impacts along the coast. Bad. Okay, so you got to stay alert. Fort Myers northward definitely serves. The intensity goes up the more towards Pinellas County, Braden, and Sarasota, Tampa Bay. If this thing, for some reason, just nudges a little bit, and that's on the back of my mind. But ultimately, in the end, unfortunately, landfall is going to be bad for somebody without a little wiggle east or west. And the biggest other thing, too, is we know there's going to be a ton of bad weather across the state. I think the second biggest story, other than storm surge for west central Florida, is going to be the impact into Georgia. I'm seeing pressure readings in the 9, 40, 50s range, way up towards Atlanta. They got a ton of trees. They don't prep for stuff like this as like we do down here, getting ready, for trees going down. So I expect a lot of power issues, South Carolina included. Okay, we're going to see a lot of storms. This thing's going to be feeding off this cutoff low. There's going to be a lot of energy that we typically don't have on a system that has nothing else around it. So this storm's going to be feeding off a low off to the northwest, and I think we're going to see a lot of people inland that are going to say, where did that come from? That kind of like what happened with Beryl. Beryl was only a 1. This has a potential of being a 3, maybe 4, maybe. I think that's what the state said it could be, but it doesn't matter at this point. We watch now real time. I mean, this thing's got, what, about 2 days. I don't have to remind anybody. Let me tell you. Every hurricane only needs 2 to 3 days to go from nothing to something, okay? We don't want to nickname this like Mean Helene, okay? I hope that's not a headline we're going to be using, like Mean Helene, but we might be. All right, so that's that. We're going to do one of these at 11. This little orange ball is the wind field. They expect this orange ball to cover the whole state of Florida. That's tropical storm force winds. All right, so I zoomed in on the center track. You're not supposed to look at the center track. I just did that to let people know in Tallahassee, you better be taking this serious, okay? you better be taking this serious, because you're going to have very close. Right now, it's actually shifted a little bit your way. We actually got hurricane warnings now closer now across the panhandle here, and I think Panama City's still on the cone, man. And unfortunately, we got our buddy Tyler down here. We have Port St. Joe. We got Apalachicola. There's a lot of folks here under a hurricane warning now. This is a big deal. There's going to be a lot of water being pushed up into that area. Okay, now I'm going to show you the latest surge for. Oh, we're almost. We got to get rolling, man. Dirty 30s turned into dirty 40. Timing, the Keys tomorrow night. That's the biggest change more than anything. This thing is slowed down. Bad. This has more time to develop down there before the Yucatan, and that's what we're seeing. So more time, more chance to strengthen. Wednesday night, we'll start to see tropical storm force winds down in the Keys. Thursday morning, we'll start to see them here in Central Florida. That's a timing map. That gets adjusted. Other things that are important. Wind map I just posted. This is a general idea from the National Weather Service. Max wind gusts showed up at 133. It just kind of shows you, it doesn't really break it down exactly, but it gives you an idea where these serious winds are going to be up all the way through Georgia, showing 70, 80 miles an hour. These are 70, 80 mile an hour wind gusts possibly up through Georgia. That's going to be a lot of power problems all the way up maybe to the Appalachians, okay? But I ain't got to tell anybody the eye is going to be bad, total destruction. So, yeah, I know, Shelly. Marketing opportunity missed. All right, rainfall, heavy rains. We know that. This is the big secret or sneaky, not secret, sneaky third story is going to be flooding up here in the mountains. Okay, this sucker is going to stop and stall, and we got a big low pressure area. So we unfortunately are seeing red now, which is bad. Red is 12 inches, okay? 12 inches in the mountains is not good. So this is going to be another story of Helene, is flooding in the mountains. Flood potential map obviously showing that. Red is bad too. I should be saying bad a lot, but I am. Flooding not good. Ground saturations are extremely high right now across Florida. We had a tremendous amount of rainfall during Debbie, and trees are going to topple easier because of this rain and winds that are coming. So a lot of flooding. Water will accumulate more than it would normally, so expect a lot of flash flooding. Unfortunately, a big part of Georgia. Again, Georgia, all this focus on Florida, and Georgia's going to have a big story in the making, in maybe Tennessee, maybe South Carolina. All right, other stuff I got open here for you. Surge maps. This is the big story, I think, more than anything, is surge. Holy cow, man. 4 to 7 foot longboat to Inglewood, okay? 3 to 5. That's still pretty darn good amount of surge all the way down to the Flamingo. I didn't know that was a town. Tampa Bay, 5 to 8. That is my huge concern. 6 to 10, 10 to 15, 5 to 10. That is a lot of surge now. The surge is hard to forecast. Not everybody's going to get that. It's a hard thing to forecast, okay? So it's a not a guess, but man, I can just tell you, 5 to 8 in Tampa is bad. I don't think we've ever, not to say bad again. It's bad. 4 to 5 is what we had around Ada. 5 to 6 around Idalia. We saw the flooding we had, right? This could go to 8. So we're paying attention to this surge warnings that everybody got on their phones is real, okay? If you flooded before, you're probably likely going to flood again. And if the floodwaters got close to you, they're going to make it this time. They might be 2 to 3 feet more. Okay, so I think that's going to be a big story. Unfortunately, even here in Oldsmar, we're in a bad spot, man. We got all that water pushing up the bay, Tampa Bay, Oldsmar, big story. So this thing tracks west a little bit, the surge will be less. If it tracks east a little bit, it guarantees maybe even a little bit more. Now I pulled these up. This is part of what I'm worried about. St. Petersburg, okay? This tide map prediction has been bouncing between 8 to 9 to 10 feet. 8.5 right now. All right? Normal highest astronomical tide is in this top red line, right? So this is 6.5, 7 foot taller than whatever has happened usually ever. During past storms, we're at 4 or 5 feet, 6 feet. So we're about 2 more feet. And look at the tide levels now. They have been above normal. Blue is what they were supposed to be at with the water level. We're almost a foot more, not quite a foot, 3/4 of a foot. So they're already running above normal because of our king tides already. So that's St. Petersburg. That's on the bay side of St. Petersburg. Okay, all that water is going to be Old Tampa Bay. Another one of these maps here is I closed Clearwater. It's almost exactly the same. Here's Cedar Key. Cedar Key, 14 foot showing. All right, that is tremendous showing for Cedar Key. I don't have any other things up, but you get the idea. Okay, a lot of surge. Places around there could even be more, but that is not going down. And here's Apalachicola, 5 foot. So all this lines up with the surge that this Apalachicola, Florida. So, all right, spaghetti models 18Z came out. We're getting pretty close here to, still got that little bit of fanning at the last second. Obviously, Panama City still always watching. You're in the cone. This thing makes a little tug to the, last second tug to that low pressure that's coming in. That's kind of been my only really big sneaky surprise. Normally it's that weird turn to the east. My only, well, you always worry about the east, but this is the one I've been talking a lot about. If this low pressure comes in a little bit stronger, allows our system to pull up to that and turn. Remember, low pressures are attracted to low pressures. That's why we have a low pressure here and everything's going up towards that. Weird setup. This low pressure comes in a little quicker now because it's a little slower down here. Things could change a little bit. So we're gonna, like I said, we're watching for these nudges. Nudges can mean a lot for final landfall. They don't mean much at all about overall effects. Okay, but generally, this is still tight. But I still, now that cone, I mean, it has shifted a tick to the west now. So we're going to see these ticks west. Just pay attention. That's all. Don't get locked in on that center line from the National Hurricane Center. Please look at that cone for eye wall impacts. A new one of these comes out in about an hour. Other models we look at, GFS ensembles on Weather Nerds for these 12Z. Yeah. Oh, we should have 16Z out by now. I don't know what these are. That's still 12Z. But anyway, tight cluster. These are showing you the outliers. The Euro's really gotten tight clustered. We don't see any stray lines. So this is what you like to see, not like to see. Like, this is what you hope to see. You want to see consistency in the models. I mean, and you want to see the models get tighter with less outliers. That means at least you kind of know, unfortunately, who's going to get it, right? So steering currents are becoming a little pretty locked down. So, I think the theme that I said, more than anything is, we got a chance for, if we were to get a weird little outlier, it would be a little wobble to the east. And then the other weird outlier is going to be that last second turn reacting to this low pressure that's coming down. So, little different setup, like I said. And when we had frontal line systems like Ian, you almost could bet money there was no going to be surprise to the west. The surprise is going to be turned toward that front. Now that we got this set up, it's a little bit both sides surprises that we need to watch for. That's why we pay attention to that cone. Nothing is locked in until it happens. Super model spread here. I'll just show this real quick. We'll go to ensemble means, track density. Oh, it's loading. This is off of a site from Tomer Berg. We've talked to each other on X. But anyway, I can't really get it to load. This just kind of shows you the consistency of the main operationals. However, it is kind of showing you the Canadian going a little bit to the west. But your Euro and UK and GFS are pretty much there. So, that's we don't really see any other outliers or anything. I mean, that's the thing. You don't really see any, like I tried to show the first time with Ian, we saw a lot of weird possibilities about this, down here. But this this is kind of getting tighter and tighter, with your thinking here. Stronger systems tend to go a little bit more east, so just we're staying alert, man. That's tropics where nothing's set in stone with the exact track in the eye. So I will look at all this in the morning and see if we have any changes. Realistically, we haven't had many changes. In fact, if you look at this site here, let me show you. This is our TVCN cluster. This is on Brian Tang is his website. This is incredible consistency. The TVCN is a consensus of all models. These are the last 6 runs of this, and look, I mean, you will never get consistency like this in 6 runs. So that's where we're focusing on. The NHC consistency for the last 6 runs of the NHC. Remember, everybody reacts to a bump this way, a bump that way. I mean, that is about this is about as solid of a track you'll ever see this many days out that we've seen and going forward. Last couple models I want to show here. The H-Wharf 18Z just came out. Remember, we're initializing now lower than what they think. So this is where we've got to look at things like this. All right, so our system initializes at 996. That's what this model thinks the storm would have been at, but our system is at 991 now. So it'll have to adjust its thinking. But basically, very close to Tampa, 944. More realistic numbers, but I guess the only disagreement that I have with the NHC is they aren't acting like it's going to do any strengthening. If you listen to their discussion, time and time again, they are saying that whatever it is here, it's not going to get any stronger here. That's kind of what they're telling people, but I don't see that. Every one of these high-intensity models are showing it's strengthening still on approach. And that's important to know because it's just more winds and more effects inland towards past Florida. H-Wharf. These are on Tropical Tidbits, by the way, tropicaltidbits.com. H-Wharf, let's look at the H-Mon. It's 946. And 938, 936, 937. So, these hurricane models have been trending a little bit to the east. So, they'll correct themselves. But, if you're curious about them, Haas model usually H-Wharf's been good in the years past. They're all pretty much, unfortunately, going right up towards Tallahassee. Haas A is showing 944. And close to Tampa, 933, 933. So they're totally. I think that the NHC is saying there's we're going to get some dry air and all this stuff, but I don't know, man. These models ain't seeing it. 947 and 945. So maybe maintaining, but some of the models are showing it stronger. But you can see things are consistent. And why I think we're going to have trouble in Atlanta. In Georgia, 954, 964, 974, almost over Atlanta. That is hurricane pressures. Hurricane pressures will bring hurricane winds. It just won't be a hurricane because it won't have tight convection. But that was that wind map I showed. You're going to have hurricane gusts all the way up through Georgia, maybe up here into the Appalachians. And once you get higher up elevations, those winds magnify. So surface winds are one thing, but when you start getting in the mountains, guess what? It gets really high. So we're going to see a lot of power outages in Georgia. Guaranteed. We're going to see a lot of power outages in Georgia. One more map I want to show, then I'm signing off. It's Chili's time. One of our brew crewers hooked me up with a gift card, so we're going to go out there. Sarah's waiting. They don't have school tomorrow. The kids love hurricanes because they don't have school tomorrow. We have 2 hurricane days in Pinellas County. That's the only reason kids hope for hurricanes is so they can get a day off. But then there's nothing open. When they get older, they won't want hurricane days because they'll have to worry about hurricanes. But when they're kids, they just want a hurricane day. And I'm okay with that. Let them be kids. All right. So looking into the future, here's kind of what we're going to be looking at after we got landfall. I wanted to show South Carolina. Look at these bands. Whoops. Look at these bands still rolling in here in South Carolina. So this technically could be almost Friday morning. But we're still going to see some nasty bands coming in across off the Atlantic. The Atlantic will be fueling these things, and I think because of this upper level low over here, we're going to see continued action that we normally wouldn't see because that's going to help fuel it, okay? So I think we're going to see a sneakier, deeper northern east side, west side system than we normally do because there's going to be energy coming in from the northwest. I don't know. I don't see a lot of these systems, but that's what it's showing, and that's what's consistent. So expect for that, man. Alabama, South Carolina, Georgia, you're going to feel this sucker late Thursday night into Friday. All right? Good. I think I got it all in. The Dirty 36. All right. So listen, we'll be live long time in the morning, 9:19. This will be the last evening live. I am storm chasing. I am going somewhere. I don't know where, but by tomorrow night, folks, listen, we'll be within 24 hours of landfall. There's going to be no... most people will be evacuated hopefully tomorrow night that are going to evacuate. By tomorrow night, we're going to have a really good idea where this is going. I will do an update on the road like we did during Francine. So we will do some sort of live as I storm chase. I do a lot more coverage storm chasing. I don't want to hear anybody complaining about it. I've been storm chasing since 2020. I have a lot of our sponsors on the road. I'm very good friends with FHP, fire, state officials, government officials, FEMA. So this is my second job now, is on the field, doing what I can, helping report, being there. So I'm going to do it. So don't say that you don't like it because you might get banned. We ain't got no time for that. So, but I will be reporting a lot. I report live from my truck, and I got a setup now that looks just like this. So you won't even know the difference except I'll be in my truck. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. I cannot tell you how many followers. I was at the gas station today, and a dude next to me was watching me on TikTok, and he looked over and he said, "That's you." I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. I can't believe it. I have one video that went 2 million on TikTok from yesterday. It's nuts, but I appreciate it. If you find me trustworthy and informative, thank you. So, it just means everything. Been doing this 20 years. My heart and soul's in it. I'm passionate about it. It's my hobby, because if it wasn't, I wouldn't be so addicted to it. I absolutely love it, and I just appreciate you coming along for the ride. All right, we'll see y'all in the morning. Dirty 30 is over. Dirty 38.